focused on what's going on in Ukraine, because that's the easy photo op for him. Despite all the talk about it being historic and risky, it is not either of those things. That's what he wants you to focus on. So in the same press conference where Karine Jean-Pierre, world's most untalented press secretary, is struggling to explain why Joe Biden is not going to East Palestine, she's bragging about Biden's trip to Kyiv.
The trip that President Biden to Kyiv, as many of you reported on, was historic. It was brave. Many of you talked about how we heard the sirens wailing in the background as the president was on the ground. Remember, there is no military on the ground in Ukraine, U.S. military on the ground in Ukraine. And the president took this trip to send a very clear message, not just to the people of Ukraine, not just to Russia, but the world. How, again, we have an unwavering support for the people of Ukraine.
Well, I mean, you can see where their priorities are. Again, they could prioritize both. They clearly are not. And this is an administration with priorities. So, for example, one of their big priorities is diversity. Karine Jean-Pierre gave unintentionally one of the worst defenses of diversity ever. She said, you know, the really important thing to notice about Joe Biden's cabinet, a cabinet filled with such luminaries as Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris, this amazingly diverse cabinet filled with geniuses like Miguel Cardona and filled with just absolute wonders of the human species. It's a very diverse cabinet. I mean, sure, the one thing that unifies them, they suck at their jobs, but so diverse. Here's Karine Jean-Pierre.
The cabinet is majority people of color for the first time in history. The cabinet is majority female for the first time in history. A majority of White House senior staff identify as female. 40% of White House senior staff identify as part of the racially diverse communities. And a record 7 assistants to the president are openly LGBTQ+. So again, this is something that the president prides himself on, that he actually has taken action to show the diversity of this administration.
Guys, they suck at their jobs, but Marcia Fudge, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, is black, and Pete Buttigieg is gay, and Jennifer Granholm identifies as a woman. Alejandro Mayorkas does identify as a Hispanic man, as a Latinx human at Homeland Security. Like, this is the really important stuff that you need to keep in mind. Priorities for this administration. Okay, so